Aloha, I'm Ross Stevenson with the Hawaiian Railway Society. Over the last few months we've been showing a lot of different facets of railways in Hawaii, and one of the really fun things about being interested in history and digging for resources is finding a whole bunch of photographs that haven't been distributed much. So that's what I wanted to go ahead and start today, discussing the very beginnings of the railway to try and make it more tangible to people. The very first thing that I wanted to show everybody is this particular slide. This is the Railway Act of 1878 under King Kalakaua. Now, King Kalakaua was a very progressive person. For example, he put electricity in Iolani Palace ahead of its use in many mainland cities. He had wanted to make Hawaii not only stronger financially, but he also wanted to make it become considered as being on an equal par with a lot of so-called civilized countries, unquote. So he went ahead and he encouraged a railway development on Oahu and other islands. Now, this was the period of time when you had the railroad barons in California, Crocker and Huntington and others, going ahead and changing the whole economy of California. So this was basically, he was following that role, as did Benjamin Franklin Dillingham, who owned and operated the railway. So again, King Kalakaua is a royal act, and this is an example of the Kingdom of Hawaii being very forward-thinking. The next slide I'd like to show you is Hurrah for the Railroad. Now, some of you may, look at the date on this, 1889. What they've done is Dillingham had gone ahead and gone to Germany and England and all to get parts for his railway, and even into Pennsylvania. The logistics on bringing things over was very harsh, and what he ended up doing is his engines did not arrive when they were scheduled, and he had made a public bet saying that he would run the railroad on his birthday. So what he did was he went ahead and acquired a small surplus engine that was sitting on the docks in Honolulu, and did that to run for his first railroad excursion, which went out toward Palama. So this is when he actually started showing that this was really going to happen. So you have this in the newspaper at the time, the Daily Bulletin, Hurrah for the Railroad, because this was actually something more than just talk. It was something that was going to happen. And what is special about this is that this is a tremendous change in transportation in the islands, because you would be able to transfer from one place to another on land much more easily than before. Most of the times before this, because the roads were so bad, you ended up having to take a shallow draft boat and go around to different beaches. But this is going to not only make it easier to move around on land, but to go farther. So they're actually celebrating it. Now, the next photograph that I want to share with you is this. Okay, that is number 6. That's the very first engine, the surplus engine that they got. It's called Kauila. And this is a picture either at the Pearl City station or at the Aiea station. But you can see that this thing was not the kind of engine that you usually think about in the west of this period, which would have been a much bigger boiler, etc., like that. You can go ahead and take a look in your mind's eye about the cabin there that the gentleman is standing in, and you only got 2 sets of wheels over there, and you have a very large funnel. but that was number 6, the very first engine, probably about 1910. The next slide I'd like to show you is this is the same engine in our yard. Okay, a 6 Kauila. You notice the funnel is different, but the fact of the matter is the rest of the hardware is the same. And this is basically the little engine that could. It revolutionized transportation on the island of Oahu. Now, the Railway Society has a number of engines and other artifacts in EVA that you are more than welcome on any Wednesday, Saturday, or Sunday to come out and examine. But this is living history right there, Kauila. The next slide I'd like to show you. This is the Oahu Railway and Land Company's timetable. This particular timetable is from 1890. Now, if you take a quick look at it, you're going to find that they go to Honolulu, Moanalua, Pu'uloa, Halava, Aiea, Kala'au, and Waiau. What they would do over the next number of years is extend all the way to Kahuku, and with an allied line, they would be able to take you all the way to Kahana Valley, which most people think nowadays you would go to the city of Honolulu by car through Kaneohe, but in those days, if you wanted to go from Kahana to Honolulu, you would go up through Kahuku and Kaena Point and Eva on the train. But they had both regular trains and, as you may note down here, it says Sunday trains. Those were often excursions. People wanted to get out into the country because at this time, most people didn't have, even couldn't afford horses. They would just be walking around Honolulu and the environs of what we call downtown Honolulu today. But you could get on the train and get way far away, see a totally different landscape, and just have a family outing. So the Sunday trains were very, very popular. The next thing I would like to go ahead and show you, this is building of cars. This is the Commercial Advertiser, 1898. And what they're doing is, remember we talked about how difficult it was for Dillingham and the Oahu Railway and Land Company to get the materials to put the railway together, but it was also difficult to go ahead and acquire rolling stock. So what ended up happening is they would go ahead and have shops of their own with master carpenters building passenger cars, building freight cars, even building flatbeds here in Hawaii, much like we had with the Honolulu Iron Works for a number of years, that they would go ahead and do this stuff locally because they couldn't count on the transportation networks across the ocean and then off and around South America, or at least until the Panama Canal was built. So it was a specialized place, and it was they were fitted to accommodate our climate. They weren't necessarily what you would see on the mainland in some of the amenities, because of the fact that we have a pretty stable climate here and it's warm. Now, there was one car that was built for Dillingham himself, a parlor car that actually had a lanai, a deck, open on the back, and it also had a lua and a small kitchen. So this is, again, something that the Hawaiian Railway Society nowadays is trying to go ahead and preserve by rebuilding a lot of these cars in our shops. And it's a labor of love, but we're trying to be as historically accurate as we can. Now, the next slide I wanted to show you is that, you know, we think of tourism with a huge bulge of people coming in with the jets in 1960. But the railways were on Oahu were a tourist attraction even as early as this is 1899. Okay, and this is going around the Makua side, I believe, of Oahu on the west. And though you can't see as much with the photograph, the point is that as early as that period, people were going out after staying in town or in Waikiki and taking these excursions. One of the most popular excursions was a similar railway along the Hamakua coast on the Big Island of Hawaii. The next slide is of ʻŌlelo. Now, if you look at this photograph, you'll see on the top is King Street and the Beretania King intersection in the top center. And on the right side, it says ʻŌlelo Road. Now, if you looked at this area in 1889, almost anything Mackay or to the south of King Street would have been water. But the only area that was land was ʻŌlelo Road itself, and that was directed down as the bottom center was Oahu prison. So that's how isolated it was. They wanted to build a prison where you'd have a difficult time getting away. So what Dillingham did is he filled in a lot of the coastline here to make land for his operations. These were all called locos, which is the Hawaiian word for pond. And you can see the buildings on the top that he's put up. He actually had 2 train stations over here in the center right, which would be the one we know today as a cement structure, but the original building was of wood. And this is as close to downtown Honolulu, or the town of Honolulu at that time, that he could get his railroad in. He'd have to cross Nuku'anu Stream, and it would have been partially built up by then. So if you wanted to get on the railway to go out to the country, you would walk over to ʻŌlelo. One other thing I might mark on your mind here is in the top center, actually just slightly left of center, is where the Palama settlement actually began before 1925, when it moved into Palama itself. The Dillingham and a bunch of other people were very supportive of trying to deal with problems of adolescence growing up just like today, and so they gave land in that upper left portion for the initial Palama settlement. But if you, again, you've seen how much from this particular year, which is 1902, that they've done a tremendous amount of building right around the railroad. The next slide I'd like to show you. This is the Mackay side of Moanalua, and the far left corner is Halawa. And if you see that line that basically goes left to right and then curves, I'll give you an idea how much the landscape has changed. Now, the 2 locos that are on the bottom, those were actually filled in during World War II by the Navy for air purposes, air station purposes. But at one time, the ocean and the ponds extended quite a ways in the Waianae direction over what are now the runways at Honolulu International Airport. The original part of Honolulu Airport, there's a loco or a pond that bulges out just to the right of center over there, below where the dark line curves. And then you notice that line curves up and then to the right and then back down. What it is most of Mapunapuna as we know it today is all fill. And you can sense that because of the topography in Mapunapuna is, some of it is sinking, to put it bluntly. It was not compacted enough when it was filled in years later, but the natural topography when the railroad was first coming in, if you start on the right, you see there's a black line that goes up Mauka, and it says Kahauiki. That's the actual name of the Ahupua'a that Fort Shafter is in. So if you went and took the original railway at that time, you would have gone Mauka, then across the top of Moanalua Stream, and then turn to the left and go back Mackay, and then today's elevated freeway follows that line that goes back to Halava. You want to get an idea of a part of the environment that still reflects this environment, that curved area where it goes Mackay and then goes Eva. That curved area is now a white fence behind the Wendy's and the motorcycle shop. That's why it has that unusual, rather than a straight line boundary, it has a curved boundary. Also, if you go Mauka back up toward the ponds that are there, and you have that Waianae to Diamond Head section over there, that's where the heavy-duty 138 kV power poles are, following that right-of-way. And the next photograph that I want to share with you is Oahu Railroad's commercial and scenic prominence. We talked about earlier how the Oahu Railway and Land Company had become a tourist destination, but also there's some photographs here showing the not only the scenes that they would see, but also the fact that the railroad made the plantations possible. The plantations needed to have a lot of their product sent out to the docks, and in fact, the plantations, if I may back up just a moment, they initially had, for example, the pineapple canneries would have individual facilities, almost family-run businesses, way up Mauka above Pearl City and all, and then sugar cane down below. But what happened was that they consolidated the canneries in Iwilei, and the trains would bring the pineapples down from central Oahu and all, and to the harbor. The plantations also had their own railroads initially, which connected with OR&L. So it was really a railway-dependent society, at least Waianae side of Honolulu. The next slide, or discussion, is this. You see that word on the upper left-hand corner, Culebra Cut? That's a reference to the Panama Canal construction. And what we're doing is, in this situation, is that they are going ahead and straightening out. They have the funds now in, let's see, 1910 to go ahead and straighten out the line. So, for example, if you're familiar with Aiea, you have the 49ers restaurant on the Mauka side, and you have also the 7-Eleven nearby. You notice that there's a big gash on the Mauka side of the hillside there. And if you look really closely on the Mackay side of Kamehameha Highway, you'll see a even deeper cut on the way to get to Grue Point. And this is what they were doing. They were straightening out the railway right-of-way to be able to handle bigger and bigger loads. As I mentioned earlier, the next slide, this is a Google Earth. Looking at, that's Kamehameha Highway there in Aiea, that big wide strip. The area that's peninsula on the top is Grue Point, and you'll see a line on the right that's just near the water that connects over to almost to Kamehameha Highway and then follows the park. What happens there is this is the original railway line, which is much earlier then Kamehameha Highway. And they did that cut over there. You can see the sign, it says McGrew Cut. So next time you're walking in that area, you might consider going ahead and view history right there beneath your feet. Now this particular next one, railway cut off to operate today. This is another example. Yeah, this is the Waipahu cut in 1913 that they're talking about. And they're reorganizing the railway line through Waipahu, and then to go ahead and have it connect up to Schofield Barracks and Wahiawa. They use Kipapa Gulch and a series of switchbacks and cuts in the hillside to get up to Wahiawa. And Wahiawa, of course, was developing under Dole with all the pineapple, which is a heavy product. So again, they're straightening out the line so that you could go ahead and get an idea. I'll show you a picture in a few minutes in the second session in terms of going to that location. But if you go there now, what you'll see is in 1939 on Farrington Highway, over near Kunia, if you're going in the Diamond Head direction, you're going to be on a rise, and then you're going to go over two bridges. One of them is the stream, Waikele Stream, and the second one is the old railroad bridge that still cuts under the highway, but on the Makai side, the townbound side, but they've already widened later on from 1939 the highway so that only one side is raised. But again, you're looking at history. And the last photograph I'd like to share with you today, this is a photograph of Eva. If you look in the center there, you'll see like an L-shaped structure. That's the new mall that's just been built. Hawaiian Homes lands and the fire station in Eva are just Mauka above that L. You can see the housing that's gone in on the left. And below it is the what was the Marine Corps Air Station in World War II in 1941 in that green space. Maybe you can make out kind of a X in there. The area brown to the right is the wastewater treatment plant. But I'm showing you this photograph because lower left to upper right is the original railway line, and the line portion on the left side is operated by the Hawaiian Railway Society 3 days a week for excursions. So we want to make sure that people know where we are. We do appreciate people coming out. We have 2 different model train societies at the facility, and we have the train rides, and we're in the process of putting up some new display buildings. So you're always welcome to come ahead and visit the Railway Society. Again, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Rides take about 2 hours. Sunday rides even stop for ice cream and kapolei. So again, thank you very much for looking at this program today. Hope you've enjoyed it. We've got some more photographs that we'll show a little later on about the trains. But again, mahalo nui loa, and you have a good day. Bye.